October 7th, 1996. Not a date many of us know offhand, but it's the date when Roger Ailes launched Fox News and forever changed the landscape of cable news. Now there's a new Showtime series that gives us some insight into what went on behind the scenes. Annabelle Wallis is one of the stars of The Loudest Voice, and she joins me now. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to start off actually by showing our viewers a little bit of the show to get a sense of it. So let's take a look at this clip.
Okay. I think about her sometimes.
Don't.
I feel guilty. You know, she loves you.
Laurie,
don't you ever think?
I'm a multifaceted man. And my family is only one part of me. Go and get your uniform.
I mean, ooh, it just like hits you. And of course, Roger Ailes is right there in that clip. And the series shows how he built Fox News, how he abused his power, and that, of course, led to women standing up to him and kicking off the Me Too movement. So how much did you know about that when you joined the series?
I'd obviously heard of Roger Ailes, of course, the infamous Fox News, and I didn't know much more than, you know, what we get to observe on screens and in hotel rooms, and obviously coming from England, having a very outside perspective of it. But the more I delved into it, I was so fascinated to find out that this man is, you know, he constructed the world that we live in today, that is so much, that it's basically, we are the product of a Roger Ailes world, you know, and we are complicit in the way we use, you know, some of the narrative, the way we absorb information, how we want to absorb information. I was just fascinated by the whole thing.
Well, you mentioned the word complicit, and, you know, Laurie Luhn, the character that you play, she was a booker at Fox. She herself is really complicated, right? Because she is both subject to this abuse and then also complicit in it. Did you come to understand her through playing her?
I did come to understand. I think it's important to, you know, especially when you're dealing with someone who went through such a harrowing time, to understand why you would make a choice to stay, and that perhaps she went through her own abuse when she was younger, and seeking validation, be it in her work life and her personal life. She seemed to me, unfortunately, the type of person that would be drawn to this coercive, abusive, unending, harrowing relationship that she got into with Roger for 20 years. But, you know, he was a fascinating man. He was the most powerful man, one of the most powerful men in America at the time. And there, I think, she was like a moth to a flame. She had her own ambitions. She was a very smart woman. She had created a life for herself and was rising within Fox very fast. And so, you know, it's understanding that we all have so many different sides to ourselves, and, you know, in a pressure cooker environment, who are we? What do we become? You know, what do you compromise when you want power? You want all the things that you're meant to seek under the guise of the American dream. And so, to me, she was a fascinating woman to play, and I really empathized with the journey that she went on, and I'm very proud to sit here today, sit amongst my girlfriends, sit amongst the actors I know, and be having a conversation like the Me Too, the Time's Up, and thinking about women like Laurie Luhn, who were real pioneers in the unfortunate side of what happens, but because of their story, she somehow paved the path to a conversation that's happening now. So I think it's very important.
One of the things I was so struck by watching this was the physical transformation that all of the actors made. So what was it like watching your friend and co-star Russell Crowe take on Roger Ailes?
It was really weird, because you'd get there in the morning and, well, Roger, Russell, and Beth, Sienna, you'd see them in the morning having their coffee, and they're all jolly. And
I mean, Sienna is almost unrecognizable.
It's unrecognizable. I mean, the craftsmanship in makeup and the prosthetics was just phenomenal. And I think it adds so much to character. It adds so much to the weight. I mean, he wasn't a healthy man, so there was so much truth in the kind of exhaustion in the body. And just the kind of the oppressive element of how grandiose he was in many ways, and what that's like around physically on screen with a woman. I think it worked incredibly well.
We mentioned Sienna Miller. One of the other actors on here is NAOMI Watts. And in dealing with this material, as you mentioned, it's touched so many of our lives. Was there a sense of camaraderie on set with them?
I think so. You know, I think we had all got the script when the Me Too movement was at a very fervent time and very impassioned demographic in my industry, feeling very passionate about being heard and being seen differently. So when the script came about, I remember speaking to Sienna and NAOMI and just thinking what a wonderful opportunity it is to be of service to a bigger conversation by telling the truth about something that is so much on the other side of like a fourth wall, you know, that we're not privy to. We see the glossy exterior of an incredible business, Fox News and all that they've created in their lives, but where it comes from. And perhaps there might have been a rot at the core of it that we weren't privy to. And be it if you agree with it or not, it's a perspective. And I think, you know, information is power. And so it's nice to just give a perspective of things. Yeah.
Well, I do want to end things on a little high note. Yes, on a high note. And you've done so many. We're going to switch gears a little bit. You've done so many great projects with some of Hollywood's biggest stars. So having you here, I'd be remiss if I did not ask you a little bit about them. And I'm just going to throw out a name, and we're going to bring up a little photo, and you just tell me the first thing that comes to mind when I bring them up. So let's start with your Mummy co-star, Tom Cruise. First thing that comes to mind.
Hilarious. He is so funny, and I don't think people know that enough about him. He is so cheeky, so funny, so charming. I mean, he's Tom Cruise.
Yeah. People love the movie Tag. So the first thing that comes to mind with John Hamm.
Devilishly handsome.
All right. I mean.
Let's just, it's okay. We can just tell the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Handsome man.
Yeah. One of our producers is obsessed with you in Peaky Blinders, so we have to ask Cillian Murphy.
Best actor in the world. Huh. I think so. I think he's a class of his own.
And then, you know, finally, King Arthur himself, Charlie Hunnam.
Oh, the loveliest Brit abroad. He's my pal in LA. I'm very happy that he's there. He's a great guy.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you for going on this journey with me today. Thank you for talking to me about this series.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And if you're looking for some gripping television, check out Annabelle in The Loudest Voice on Showtime. Up next, there's more AM to DM.